So why should you implement best practices into your MSP? What's the benefit of this to an MSP owner to implement the best practices, you might ask? Because I talk to lots of MSPs around the world, and basically a lot of them don't really get it. They don't really have a plan on how it's all going to go with their MSP, how it's going to grow, and how they're eventually going to sell the company. So in this video, I'm going to talk about why you should actually listen when someone like me talks about best practices for an MSP and also the worst practices you might currently be following. So these are the benefits of implementing best practices into your MSP. Welcome to MSP Mountain. My name is Eric, and well, I've made a list of MSP best practices. You can find the link below in the description of a website portal that we made with it. And it's just stuff that I noticed being a consultant for MSPs and, seeing what mistakes they make and what the best ones are doing and what the best practices are to make something that just functions like a machine. I'll start this out by using an analogy that I really love to use. Because I noticed how organized the aviation industry is compared to the space that I'm in, which is the MSP IT sector. And basically, if your MSP was an airline, would you want to fly on their airplanes? Would your pilot, be trying to land a plane that he's just winging it and he's never landed that plane before in his life? Well, the MSP space basically works like that. And would you want your pilot to be interrupted from flying the plane when all the flight attendants are busy and somebody presses the button over the seat? No, probably not. So the main thing is, by implementing best practices, you have a more robust and organized company structure. For understanding a communication policy for an MSP, when your technicians or sales team should use email versus chat versus booking meetings versus calling you up and all that sort of stuff. Defining the MSP communication policy that helps organize how information gets to you or your management team or your dispatcher or your technicians. And you organize that, a more organized company structure. Like when you have your staff actually following a consistent ticket note style of writing ticket notes and what a ticket note includes. If you follow a structure in how you're recruiting people, bringing technicians on board, what you're screening for, how you're verifying that people's experience will actually lead to them taking a seat at their desk, working for your MSP and bring great results to your clients and, doing their part to keep the structure of your MSP going. I mean, yeah. And also like having a culture that is really a great place to work, because a lot of MSPs aren't. So you want to be able to add this structure and implement these best practices. How are your technicians taking the intake of tickets, or how are they tickets getting created and who are they getting assigned to and why, and how are they getting escalated? How are staff being held accountable for doing the work that's assigned to them? How is the whole help desk being run? How are the projects being run so that no balls are dropped? And who are the people who are sitting above that system that's running like a machine, looking at how the machine is running and seeing how the machine can be improved and the next level of efficiency in helping the clients can be reached? So you need to constantly implement best practices and insights and new systems and ways of doing stuff to have a company structure that actually works for the majority of the cases, and have people who are competent at taking the cases that are not addressed by that system and making a system to address those types of issues. And then, you're growing something that's actually able to grow. And I mean, yeah, your clients will get better service. I mean, you want your clients to know what happens when they email in a ticket, know what happens if they use your portal to submit a ticket, know what happens if they call up, and why maybe they shouldn't call every time. Maybe it's sometimes better to email a ticket in that says, like, I need a mailbox created by next Thursday, shared between these 3 staff members, and they know how to use that service, email it in, and then they'll get an email back that's all. But they should also know, if they can't access their email, if the whole office is down, it's better to call into the MSP and raise the alarm bells. But some customers have gotten in their heads that the only way to get good service from their MSP is by, well, calling up and being that person who wants to speak to a technician right now because it's super urgent, even though when it's not. And this is probably because you have not given a consistent service. The best thing you can do is improve the consistency of your service and educate your users on how to use the service the best, and make certain promises to them that if they email a ticket, they'll get a response within an hour or 2 hours or whatever you want to sell them. But just more organization on how stuff gets into your help desk, more organization on how it gets to technicians, and so that people can focus on doing good work one ticket at a time, doing good project work one project at a time, and one stage at a time, and stuff like that. Whereas a lot of the time MSPs just become a chaotic environment where the squeaky wheel gets the grease, meaning the client that calls up and makes noise gets the service, while there's a bunch of other random tickets that have been sent in by random people that are assigned to random technicians without oversight from someone like a dispatcher that just sit there and essentially rot. So, I mean, you want your clients to get better service. And I absolutely loathe calling some of these helplines. It seems like the worst are from banks. And I made a whole other video about this, but the worst helplines are, where you call and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if the first person who is going to talk to you is going to be able to help you. You don't know if there's any possibility to book a call with someone at a certain time and actually fit it into your schedule. You don't know how long you're going to be on hold, and you don't know what sort of ridiculous stuff is going to happen along the way that's just going to be like, make it a frustrating waste of your time to call up the help desk. So don't be that. Don't be that type of service for your clients. Make it so they call and they know what's going to happen. They get someone who can help them, or they get a realistic expectation of how the whole issue is going to be resolved from there. Next up, if you implement best practices from our MSP best practices and other information you can find elsewhere by doing research online, then you will give your staff a better environment to work in. This is really important. Give your staff a great environment to work in. Why? Because you get to have better people join your company, and you'll get to keep them longer, and you'll get to move them up in the organization, really having mentored them and built the skill. So a lot of people burn out on MSPs, especially on the level 1 help desk, because it's like these clients are calling all the time, demanding help right now. The documentation is crap. The information I need to fix the stuff is not there in the documentation. I'm told I'm supposed to escalate in a Microsoft Teams or Slack chat, but the senior technicians rarely answer me. And sometimes they make me feel stupid for escalating. The management is like almost not there because they're so focused on sales and selling anything. And then we end up signing on a bunch of new clients who call very frustrated, and we can't help them because we don't have any information with which to help them, or anyone that we can get in touch with who will help them. And everybody's super busy, and I'm just burnt out. I quit. I'm going to find another job. That's what they say. And there's no shortage of jobs in the tech industry, and a lot of them are a lot more easy to do than in the MSP space. But I'd also argue that the MSP space gives the people the ability to evolve a diverse set of social, organizational, and technical skills in one place. But if you wanna have that place and make it a good place to work, you really need to implement those best practices. You really, really do. And you owe it to the people you hire, and you owe it to the clients who you're taking money from, to implement the best practices, and not just have a, well, it's good enough sort of approach to doing this. And then once you get back past that, okay, you've got great clients, they're happy. You've got great staff, they're happy. You can grow your organization, and you shouldn't even attempt it before that. I mean, there's different stages you go through where like growth spurts and stuff like that, and you need to be fully willing to learn the lessons from those stages and implement them as you learn them, so that you can grow further and constantly evolve the structures. In my company, Supportive Venture, we believe in constantly evolving structures, whereas like as it becomes possible to streamline more things and make systems that help things scale and grow, you put those in. With an MSP, like a lot of it is actually already like well-trodden path. a well-trodden path that you can research online by watching videos like this, a well-trodden path that lots of other people on forums like the MSP Reddit forum or in places like the Tech Tribe, they will actually share their experience. One of my best clients is Ernest Murray, who runs Genuine Technology, and he's available for a reasonable consulting fee to help you with your MSP stuff. And he's built a great organization. And so don't be afraid to ask for help in figuring out what the best practices are and what mistakes you might be making in not implementing some of them, that other people have been through and done that. And then you will be able to scale your MSP. You'll be able to integrate more people into your organization, bring on more clients, have, a clear sort of one thing after another approach to doing it that you can delegate to people, rather than every new client you onboard being like some big all hands on deck experience of not knowing what to expect. You will learn how to scope out the deals, write the right contracts, and onboard the MSP and let the help desk know what they need to know to support those users. Then once you get all the best practices in, once your people are leaving good ticket notes, once you've got a dispatcher who's holding the text accountable, once you've got clients that are happy, a consistent service, people who are working for you that enjoy their jobs, you can sit back and manage your business from home remotely. It's easier to manage because you don't have to ask tag, hey, what did you do last Thursday when you went to this client and set stuff on, because they wrote ticket notes on exactly what they did. And it's in the system and you can look at that without, chatting with them on or calling them up or sending an email, which, is in dozens of emails that they have unread in their inbox because you don't have a structure of how your ticketing system sends out emails or your RMM sends out emails and they just get 100 emails a day, each staff member. It's all structure. And the more you streamline and structure things into these systems and teaching people how to use them correctly, teaching people how to communicate with each other in an organized fashion, not just random bits of information flying on the screen at random times, then you yourself will be able to sit on a beach somewhere and manage your business any time of the day by looking at the documentation, the metrics, the reports, and the service desk. And if you put the right people in the right seat on the bus, then it will be a pleasure. It'll be a pleasure to sit there and you'll go, wow, what a nice empire I've built. And I'm so happy that I implemented these best practices that guys like Eric online were talking about. Then you'll be able to take a step back. You'll be able to take a step back from the business, wake up in the morning. If you want to 10x it, that's not going to happen if you're still the first point of call for escalated tickets or client complaints. If you put in competent people in a well thought out structure and system who are taking care of all of that, you'll be able to take a step back. If everybody knows what their responsibilities are, what their role entails, and what the goalposts for successfully fulfilling that, and what the way to get promoted in the organization is, then you'll have people who are happy to work a little harder, go the extra mile, and so that you can take a step back as the MSP owner. Doesn't that sound wonderful? And then eventually, once you've got it running like that for a few years, you might eventually want to sell your business. I mean, I've talked to some MSPs that do pick up smaller MSPs, and they really do enjoy when an MSP has reached a level of maturity that they can just bring it on board and absorb its existing staff. Some MSP acquisition companies have a tear it all down mentality and make them use the system that they're used to using, and that's dangerous. It upsets the stability. So you probably want to build something stable so that whoever's taking it over can actually, take that stability and give your clients and your staff a smooth transition. And that stability in the MSP space only comes if you're able to implement some of the best practices and not make all these mistakes, the worst practices that so many people in the industry are making. This is an unregulated industry. It's still like a Wild West sort of industry where people do what they want, how they want, when they want. But it doesn't need to be like that. Best practices from Industries like the restaurant industry, like the aviation industry, like the medical industry can be implemented in an MSP. You just need to be on the level of making systems and not just hiring a bunch of people who are like you, smart enough to figure out anything at any time when anybody calls with any issue. You need to give them a rhyme and a reason for how they're to apply that brilliance to their job. And then you can get lots of those types of people working in a structure, making money that they used to live, happy with their job, low in stress, and all that sort of stuff. And then you, as the person who makes that all happen by insisting on only the best practices in your MSP, you can be there, take a step back, or you can walk away and know that what you built will not crumble in a day just because you're not there. Thanks a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll catch you later.